Okay, let's dive in. Today we're tackling a really interesting stack of brain teasers and logic challenges that you shared with us. Think of them as like a set of mental workouts designed to stretch different parts of your thinking.
Exactly. And what we've got here, it isn't just a list of, trivia. These are really classic problems. They're crafted to engage various cognitive functions.
Okay.
Everything from, say, recognizing patterns, understanding language nuances, to pure logical deduction, even shifting perspective sometimes.
So our mission isn't just getting the answers right, though that's fun too.
Right.
It's more about unpacking how we get there. What does that process tell us about problem solving itself?
And these kinds of puzzles are great for that. They tap into different skills, pattern recognition, lateral thinking.
Yeah.
They're actually a pretty fun way to exercise your brain.
Yeah, if we want to look at the mental muscles these puzzles work out. Like,
Right.
why do some feel easy and others just completely stump us?
And what traps do our brains tend to fall into?
Exactly. So let's jump into this mental workout and see what insights we can maybe uncover about how we all think.
Sounds good. It's a great way to show that problem solving isn't, one single skill. Different challenges need different tools from our mental toolkit.
Okay, let's start with a classic, a numerical sequence. This one really tests your ability to spot patterns, relationships between numbers.
The sequence is 2, 6, 12, 20, 30, and then what number comes next?
Right, what's the next number?
Well, when you see a number series like this, often the first thing you want to check is the difference between the terms, the gaps.
Okay.
Is there a consistent difference? Or maybe is there a pattern in those differences?
Give yourself a moment, maybe pause if you need to. Scan those numbers.
Okay,
Okay, the next number is 42.
42. And if you looked at those differences, like we mentioned,
Yeah.
you'd see the pattern pretty quickly. From 2 to 6, that's plus 4.
Okay.
Then 6 to 12 is plus 6.
Oh.
12 to 20 is plus 8. 20 to 30 is plus 10.
So the pattern isn't in the main numbers, it's in what you're adding each time. Consecutive even numbers.
Exactly. Plus 4, plus 6, plus 8, plus 10. So the next one has to be plus 12.
And 30 plus 12 is 42.
Yeah.
Got it. That really zeroes in on that sequential reasoning, doesn't it?
It does, and looking, one level deeper than just the surface number.
Shows how sometimes the pattern isn't obvious until you sort of transform the data a bit.
Precisely. Recognizing a pattern in that derived sequence, the differences, lets you predict the next term. It's fundamental to a lot of abstract reasoning tests, actually.
Moving from numbers to words now. Here's a classic riddle. Really plays on language. What have an eye but cannot see?
Riddles like this, they often use polysemy, words with multiple meanings.
Right.
The trick is usually thinking beyond the most obvious common definition of the keyword.
Think about maybe everyday objects. The answer here is a needle.
A needle, right. The eye of a needle, it's just that hole for the thread. It's got nothing to do with sight. And the puzzle works because our brains, they tend to default to the most familiar meaning of eye. Solving it means you have to kind of inhibit that first reaction and look for other possibilities.
That's a great point about inhibiting the obvious. It's like a tiny exercise in flexible thinking. Okay, let's switch gears again. Spatial and linguistic challenge. An anagram.
Okay.
If you rearrange the letters CIFAIPC, you get the name of a major ocean.
Right, anagrams. These tap into your familiarity with, letter combinations, spelling patterns. But you also have to sort of hold different possibilities in your head while you shuffle the letters around.
Scramble those mentally. The ocean is the Pacific.
Pacific.
Yeah.
Simple enough when you see it, right?
Yeah.
But the challenge is trying those combinations or spotting familiar chunks like PE or FIC. It shows how we store and retrieve word structures.
Okay, back to a more descriptive riddle type. Ready?
Yep.
I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with being. What am
Okay, so this type gives you a list of features, attributes. You need to find the one thing that fits all those descriptions.
Right.
It's about connecting those sort of abstract descriptions to a concept or sometimes a phenomenon.
I? Listen closely to those clues. Speaks, hear, nobody, needs wind. It sounds like an echo.
An echo, exactly. It speaks by repeating sound but has no mouth. It hears in the sense that it's a reflection of sound with no physical body, of course.
And the comes alive with wind part.
While you often hear echoes more clearly in still air, wind can distort or carry sound away, so maybe it comes alive or is most distinct without strong wind interfering. Or maybe just that sound travels on the air, on the wind. Either way, it fits.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's about piecing together those sensory clues. Okay, now for a real classic. This one ties a lot of people in knots. It's a self-referential logic puzzle.
Ah, yes. These are fun.
A man looks at a painting and says, "Brothers and sisters, I have none, but that man's father is my father's son, who is in the painting."
Okay. These trip us up because the language is, well, it's relative, isn't it? My father's son refers back to the speaker, but within this complex sentence.
So the key is to simplify.
Exactly. Break down the parts, substitute what you know for sure.
Okay, let's try that. Piece by piece, he says, "Brothers and sisters, I have none." What does that tell us right off the bat?
It tells us he's an only child.
Crucial.
Absolutely the crucial piece of information. It unlocks the rest.
Okay, so he's an only child. Now the second part,
Oh, yeah.
but that man's father is my father's son. If the speaker's an only child, who is my father's son?
Well, there's only one person it can be, right? If he has no brother,
It has to be himself.
it has to be the speaker himself.
Right, so we can just swap my father's son with me. The statement becomes that man's father is me. So if the man in the painting has the speaker as his father, then who is the man in the painting?
The man in the painting is the speaker's son.
The speaker's son, yes. The aha moment really comes from nailing that self-reference.
It really does.
It highlights how important it is in logic to just strip away the complex phrasing, find the equivalent terms. It's like a mini exercise in formal logic, translating language into relationships.
And it shows how easily our minds can get tangled in those kinds of recursive statements, unless we are really systematic about breaking them down.
Absolutely. Okay, switching perspective again. Here's a riddle that asks you to think about symbols versus, well, reality.
Okay.
What has cities but no houses, forests but no trees, and water but no fish?
This sounds like it's asking about something that represents these things rather than the things themselves. It's about abstraction.
Exactly. Think about where you'd see all these features shown together. The answer is a map.
A map, of course. A map uses symbols, areas, lines to represent geography.
Right. Cities marked, but no actual houses on the paper.
Forests shown as green areas, maybe, but no individual trees drawn in, usually.
And blue for water, but obviously no fish swimming on the page.
Yeah, it's a riddle purely about representation.
Yeah.
About the symbols we use.
That distinction is key. Okay, here's one that looks like simple math, but there's a language trap hidden in there.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Mary has 4 daughters, and each of her daughters has a brother. How many children does Mary have in total?
Yes. This one plays on that common assumption. When we hear each has a brother, our brain wants to multiply.
Right. You think 4 daughters, 4 brothers, 8 kids.
But that's not necessarily what it means.
Take a moment. Think about the family structure. 4 daughters. Each has a brother. The total number of children is 5.
5. Because the phrase, each of her daughters has a brother, just means there is a brother in the family.
Oh.
And all 4 daughters share that same one brother. He's the brother to each of them.
So 4 daughters, 1 son, total 5 children. Wow.
It tests careful reading, doesn't it? And resisting that urge to jump to the most complicated interpretation when a simpler one works perfectly.
Less about math, more about precise language. That's a really crucial skill, actually, for navigating information generally. Okay, here's a more abstract riddle now. What is always in front of you but can't be seen?
In front, but can't be seen. This feels more conceptual. Something outside immediate physical perception.
Yeah, think about perspective, maybe. Or time. It's always moving forward with you, this unseen thing.
Could it be? The future.
The future, that's it. It's always ahead of us in time, but by definition it hasn't happened yet, so we can't physically see it from here.
Right. Highlights that difference between physical presence and, well, conceptual existence.
I like how a simple riddle can make you stop and think about something huge, like time and perception.
Okay.
Okay, nearly there. Here's a pretty straightforward one about an everyday object.
Okay.
What has to be broken before you can use it?
Broken before use. Focuses on the function, the first step needed.
Think about maybe preparing food. That's an egg.
An egg. Yeah, you have to break the shell to get to the good stuff inside.
For cooking, eating, whatever.
Very literal puzzle, that one, which relies on practical everyday knowledge.
It's kind of satisfying when the answer is so simple and concrete after some of the others.
True.
Okay, final puzzle for this deep dive. This one gives a few descriptive clues about origin, containment, function. Ready?
Let's hear it.
I am taken from a mine and shut up in a wooden case. from which I am never released, and yet I am used by almost everybody. What am I?
Okay, mind, put in wood, never released. Used by everyone. Need to connect those clues.
Mind, cased in wood, never leaves the case. Used by everyone. Sounds like pencil lead or graphite.
Pencil lead or graphite. Exactly.
Yeah.
Graphite is mind.
Uh-huh.
It's formed into that thin rod, then permanently encased in wood with pencil.
Right, you don't take the lead out of the pencil to use it.
Yeah, you use it by wearing it down. And pencils are, well, pretty much universally used.
Yeah. That's a neat description, focusing on its journey from the ground to being a tool without saying pencil.
It is. It connects origin, form, and function nicely.
So that wraps up this set of challenges. We've gone through number patterns, language tricks, logic deductions, descriptive riddles. Quite a mix.
Yeah, and you can really see how each type requires a slightly different kind of mental flexibility, can't you?
Totally.
The number puzzle needed that pattern abstraction. Riddles like the needle or the map, they pushed us towards lateral thinking, interpreting words or symbols differently.
And the painting puzzle was pure logical deduction, careful substitution.
Right. Mary's children tested reading comprehension, avoiding assumptions. Even the simpler ones like the egg or the pencil lead, they require connecting descriptions to real-world knowledge in just the right way.
So these puzzles, they feel like more than just, fun time fillers. They're like miniature illustrations of different problem-solving approaches.
They really are.
Highlighting how important it is to shift perspective, question your assumptions, look for underlying patterns, understand language precisely. Exercising these different thinking muscles feels incredibly valuable.
Absolutely. And the cognitive skills you flex during these breaking down complexity, finding patterns, considering alternatives, avoiding those quick assumptions that are directly transferable.
To real life.
Yeah. To navigating complex information, making decisions, solving problems in any field, whether it's science or business, or just figuring out some tricky situation in your day.
Okay, so here's maybe a final thought for you to carry away from this deep dive. We've seen how spotting a number pattern, or untangling a tricky phrase, or thinking about a word's second meaning help solve these specific puzzles. How might consciously trying those same tactics, like actively looking for underlying patterns in a situation, breaking down confusing language someone's using, or really challenging your first assumption about something, how might that help you tackle challenges in your work or your life that don't look like a riddle on the surface?
Yeah.
What unseen patterns or maybe double meanings in a situation might you uncover if you approach everyday problems with more of that puzzle solver's mindset?
That's definitely something to think about. Good food for thought.